Okay, so, and I can verbally tell you, but I thought I'd see that you guys had it. So, this is Dana McCullough. She is an executive with the Education and More organization, a nonprofit that works in Guatemala, and that's what she's going to speak on. And so for this class, today especially, we're kind of gathering the information. So the assignment that you're going to do while you're taking classes is to take notes, and you can use the who, what, when, where, why, how as kind of areas to fill in. Dana doesn't know that you guys are doing, or she's not following that guideline, so it's really for you guys to ask questions as you start to fill in the blanks of what they do. And then ultimately, we'll be coming up with some suggestions for their organization. Maybe we'll learn about either some problems or struggles or things about it. So it's really wide open on learning about the organization so that we have lots of details to continue on our project and try to help them find some solutions to things. So without further ado.
Hello. Obviously, Russ said, my name is Dana McCullough. I am on the board of directors for Education and More, the nonprofit that I work with in Guatemala. Mostly what we do is we work with women and children around the Lake Atitlan area in Guatemala. Lake Atitlan is in the western part of Guatemala, about 3.5 hours from Guatemala City. It is a mostly indigenous area. There are 26 Mayan languages around the lake. They speak 4 of those, right? There's Tutzil, Quiche, Ketchikan, and I can't remember the name of the other one. But they, a lot of the women that we work with do not speak Spanish. They are uneducated. They never went to school. It's extreme poverty. If you take my Spanish class, we watch a video called $1 a Day about some college students that go there, and they actually live and work for, I believe it's 2 months, really close to where I actually go in Guatemala. So it gives you kind of an idea of the culture there. So I have a little presentation that I actually did at church, but it's got a great video here. That'll give you kind of an oversight of what we do.
Is that working? Okay. Otherwise I can do the master one.
Education More is a Christian charity whose focus is educating children in reducing poverty in Guatemala. I first came to Guatemala on a mission team and met some ladies that were needing to sell some shawls and some other products they had woven on their backstrap looms. I took some home, really liked them, and I thought I could help these ladies earn a living. And that's how it all started. It was just heart-wrenching to me that they needed help in selling their products. And they do beautiful work. And when I went home, I really wasn't going to return to Guatemala, but I think the Lord just put it on my heart that I needed to come back, I needed to help, because we want to help. That's all we want to do is just help.
Right now, the parents, they can't afford the school fees for their kids. So in each backpack, we give the kids, based on their grade, pencils, markers, calculators, scissors, really all the supplies that they're going to need to be involved in their school curriculum.
Our student sponsorship program is $15 a month or $180 a year, just to see the kids and to really know that they're headed to school due to all the volunteers and the donors that we have in the United States. It's a real blessing for us to be able to be the ones that come down here. We are here in the house of Juana. She's a single mother, and she was one of the homes that we repaired last year. We repair the roofs, we pour cement floors, we give them new energy efficient wood stoves. We provide electricity if they have no electricity or running water to their homes. Anything they need that is just a necessity to improve their lives. We have a Christian outreach program, which brings the word of the Lord to our artisans. They have asked for Bible studies at Vacation Bible School because are not able to attend church. Many of them live quite a ways out from any church. Previous to us working with them, they tried to sell their products either locally in the markets or through a wholesaler who would basically give them almost nothing for their products and their work. They would make hardly enough to pay for the materials. We design products on both styles of weaving, the backstrap and the floor petal, that we are able to sell in the United States and around the world. It gives them a fair wage to be able to take care of their families. Well, I would like to see education and more continue to grow and add more groups. There's so many women down here that really need help educating their children and taking care of their families. We work with many, many widows and many single mothers. And it's just critical to help them educate those children if they want to get out of poverty in the future.
All right, I'm gonna pause there. All right, so that was just kind of an overview in general of what our program does. We made that promotional video, I think probably 6 years ago. The woman that you saw in the video, Karen, she's our founder. We've been in business for about 14 years. She has been unable to go back to Guatemala for the past 5 years due to some family issues. Her husband has Alzheimer's, so she has not been able to stay involved in the organization. But the organization has continued on and has continued to grow. Actually, it was really neat for me to see that video. I haven't watched it for a while because the kids in the video are still kids that we work with, and the women in the video are still women that we work with. So it's neat to see the kids bigger. It was a little bit sad too because I saw the girl in the video, one of the girls in the video is actually a child that we have sponsored for the past 4 years. And she graduated from 6th grade this year, even during the pandemic. Affected them really hard, but because she graduated 6th grade, the machismo society there and her father, who doesn't actually live with them, said she can no longer go to school because she knows enough. She's just going to be a housewife anyways, and if she spends her life making tortillas, I don't care. So I even had a male friend of mine who really believes in education, especially for women. He sent his wife back to school because she also only had a 6th grade education, and he has 2 daughters, one which he's bringing up trilingual, and the other's baby. But I mean, he really believes in education. Try and talk to the father and say, do you not want success for your daughter? Why would you not let her go to school? Someone's paying for it. There's no skin off your back, basically. Still could not convince him that she should go to school because, you know, she just won't babies and get married here in the next couple of years. So she was so sad because she was top of her class. She's hanging on me, crying. You know, I want to study. I want to go to school. Dina, help me. You know, and I'm like, I can't. I've been trying. I'm like, Mom, send her to school anyways. She doesn't live here. So that was very, very frustrating for me. But, you know, those are some of the cultural things that we have to work with. We have to accept. We're not trying to change their culture. We're just trying to give them tools to have a better life, trying to get out of poverty. As you saw, the ladies still dress for the most part in their traditional clothes, the wapiles and cortes. The main handcraft that they do is weaving. They are really, really world famous for the material that they make. And so what we've done as an organization, we don't want to just, you know, hand out a handout. We want to give these women value for the work that they do. So we pay fair trade wages, which currently, I believe is 15 quetzales an hour, which is about $2.10 an hour. That is above the minimum wage there. The pay is horrible. Most people, if they can find work at all, are working for about, I believe it's 200 quetzales a week. That's 6 days of work. $10 a day. The minimum wage is not enforced for the most part. The only time they actually get paid true minimum wage usually is if they work in like a bank or one of the big chain stores, but in general, the minimum wage is not enforced. Huge problem with government corruption, police corruption. During the pandemic, the government shut the entire country down from mid-March to September 18th. They provided no aid to the people, no money, no food. They had curfew from 6 a.m. They could only be out from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. They were not allowed to leave their homes after 5 p.m. on Friday. They limited which neighborhood could go to the market at what time and on what day. So that really affected food for them. It affected the free market for them. A lot of crops were out in the field. I work with a gentleman who has pineapple plantations in Guatemala. He works here but has family there. They lost a lot of their crops because they couldn't transport it to market. They closed all what would be like inter-county travel for us, or interstate travel. They didn't allow it. So let's say I live in Pana and I want to go sell my product in Guatemala City, wasn't allowed to. So the economy was horrible during that time. Something that we don't normally do, but we did do during pandemic time, is we could still get product into and out of Guatemala, like UPS. So we had our artisans make masks, right? And we sold these for $5 a piece. It takes $20 to feed a family for a month. You can buy enough basics. I mean, I'm talking basics: oil, pasta, rice, beans, sugar, eggs. Eggs didn't last a month, but 30 eggs. So that's what we did with our $20, and we distributed it to the about 120 families that we work with. But even with that, we had trouble. We had one mayor, they're called alcaldes, that wouldn't let us in because we didn't have enough for the whole town, and we didn't have anything special for him. It was only for our groups. So our ladies walked probably about a half a mile to pick up their 50-pound bag of food and schlep it to their homes. So we have to overcome things like that as well. So that's some of the stuff that we do. We have a student sponsorship program. It's $15 per month, which I've noticed has not changed for probably 10 years. It needs to be revisited. But for that $15, they actually have to pay for enrollment in school. They have to buy uniforms, and they have to buy PE uniforms, and that's in the public schools, all right? They also have to, of course, buy all their school supplies. So with that $15 a month, we do backpack school supplies depending on their grade. We do one food bag when we go in the summer for our sponsor families. It's just something that they do. And then we provide money to the parents to pay for tuition and the cost of uniforms and things like that. We used to provide tennis shoes for the children, but that proved to be pretty problematic just because of the sizes, trying to find the right sizes for the kids. So we don't do that anymore. But then when we get to high school, it goes up to $35 a month because it's more expensive. Their high school is called Diversificado. It's kind of a little bit more like junior college, I guess you would think, to some extent here, because it's a career track. Like they have to decide what, like, are they going to be an accountant? Are they going to be, secretary, something like that. So they kind of decide their career path then. And we do not provide them school supplies, but we pay for tuition, which is a lot more expensive. We're starting to look into the idea of providing them with computers or tablets, because the trend there is toward using online stuff more. The problem is a lot of the people we work with do not have access to the internet, or don't have the money to buy computers, or cannot afford to pay for internet. Through the pandemic, some of them were able to do their homework on the smartphone. The few that happened, the ones who couldn't just do it. But I have a boy that I sponsor that's in high school, and what he did is his teacher gave him homework on Mondays. He'd bike to wherever she was, get it, and then return it the following Monday and pick up new homework, and that's how he got through the year last year. So, he's in his senior year of high school this year, so we'll see how that goes. College is $1,000 a year, right? Wouldn't that be awesome? It was $1,000 a year. However, they only go on Saturdays because a lot of them work during the week to pay for college. It's a much longer program. The job prospects are pretty much now to get a job, you have to have a college education there, even some of the most basic jobs. So we're trying to really encourage people to stay in school. It's hard. A lot of the boys drop out when they're about 11 or 12 when they start to work because they can pick coffee, they can work in the fields, and make money to help support their families. A lot of these families have 11, 12, 13 children. So it's hard to keep them in school. We've really been trying to encourage it. When we started, there was nobody went to college, especially for women. It was really common for girls, again, to be done in 6th grade. That's it. Now we have 5 students in college with 1 male and 4 females. So that's pretty awesome. So that's basically our student sponsorship program. Does anyone have questions about that aspect?
This one, so they have an A, they get more stuff.
No, we do require that they give us their grade sheets every semester. And we do send those to their sponsors. If we see that they're struggling in school, we talk to them about it. We try and find out why. Like sometimes because they had to work that semester or something like that. We will cut their sponsorship if they don't work hard enough. Like if they're just not making the effort, or like I said, a lot of the parents don't speak Spanish and school's all in Spanish, so sometimes they can't help. So if they don't have the parental support at home and they're just not learning, that's kind of a stumbling block. We're looking into it in one of our villages. One of our goals, we're building a new reading center, and one of our goals there is to also put on a classroom, to have some tutoring and then also classes for the women to help them. A lot of them are completely illiterate, don't know how to sign their names or anything. So we'd like to at least get them to that point where they know the alphabet and can sign their own names. Yes.
So is their school like set up the same as ours? How like with like grades and stuff, or is it set up differently? Because like ours, you start in like August or whatever, and you'll go and have like a summer break or whatever. Is theirs set up the same, or is it set up?
It's similar but different. They start in January, usually mid-January, and they run through October because it coincides with the coffee harvest. Kind of like how we here in the United States, the original school year worked around harvest time and planting time. Similar there. So.
Is there an age difference between the grades? Like you're like 18 is usually a senior.
It's about the same. The only problem there is school isn't mandatory, so sometimes we have kids just starting school that'll be like 8. So they'll be in kindergarten or 1st grade at 8 years old. It's getting, with the groups we've been working with, it's getting a little more homogeneous along the same lines as here, 4-year-olds in pre-kindergarten and 5-year-olds in kindergarten. That's the goal, is to have it like that, but sometimes there are discrepancies, or if they don't pass a year, it's a lot more common there to be held back a year than it is here. So, but the classes are similar. I mean, they have art, they have language. They don't emphasize much like history or anything like that. It's been interesting. I worked with the ESL program at the high school, and we had a boy come over as an unaccompanied minor from Guatemala, and he enrolled in high school. They put him in 10th grade, mainstream 10th grade. He's 17, and he only had 3 years of school in his life. He only went to school until he was like 9, 8, somewhere there. He could read, he could do some math. That was about it. And his English assignment was 1984, the book 1984 by George Orwell. And to try and explain that in a different language and with the newspeak that they have in that book, and then to someone who has no idea what World War II was, or the Nazis, or Hitler, or anything like that, really challenging. But yeah, they don't study much on world history or anything like that. They're big into cultural, into their own Mayan culture, which is nice to see. Now they're actually requiring, in Panajachel, the big city, being 12,000 people, so it's all over. They do require that they take classes in their native language, Quechua, so it's not, so the language doesn't die. Because most of the people your age do not speak the Mayan language anymore. So they all speak Spanish. And then they learn English in school as well. So, yeah.
What kind of math do they learn?
Math, they do have algebra in diversificado, but for the most part, it's basic adding, subtracting, multiplication, division. But there are some in the higher grades, some algebra, basically, for those that make it. My kid is studying accounting in high school, so he has accounting classes. So, my kid is, he's not my kid, but he sure is sweet, and he loves to talk to me every time he hangs out, he practices his English. My little helper. He's about, I am a giant in Guatemala, just to let you know, and I'm very short here, but most of the people are like this tall because of malnutrition. So Marvin is, he's 16, so he loves to play football, soccer. They're big soccer players. That is what they always ask. Can you bring me soccer cleats? Can you bring me a soccer ball? Do you have any Sporting KC jerseys? Because that's really awesome. That's one of their faves, man. If I bring them a Sporting KC jersey, they're like, oh, that's so awesome. So, all right, any more questions about the sponsorships? No? Okay. Let's see. Oh, So I touched on a little bit on the fair trade stuff. So they don't, again, have good access to internet. It's also very expensive to do shipping. And they're exploited a lot. So they'll get paid maybe one fits all over what their costs are.
Should we let them pass around a few things?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna do. So I wanted to show you just some examples of things that our artisans make. And it ranges, this is a custom thing that we have them make. Sorry, it's all wrinkly, but these are actually towels. And they're woven on a floor loom. This is about all the wider that they can make fabric. They can make it a little bit wider, but not much. But if you look at it and think, how many times do you have to pass the shuttle, the threads back and forth to make this? It'll kind of give you an idea of the hours worth of work that go to something very basic like this. So this is very basic, it's a towel.
We just pass these around, basically, we'll check them out.
Some of the other things, these are fabrics that we have woven but then repurposed into shorts. So you can kind of get an idea. The embroidery on these it's all hand done. So this is obviously a mixture. We gotta try and think of things that sell. Here's an example of some of the scarves. So one of the groups we work with is out of San Antonio, and they specialize in brilliant colors. I'll show you some of their pictures of their products. But they make these scarves, headbands, and then this is all hand embroidered. So if you want to look, this is they do this all by hand. A friend of ours, his wife does this all freestyle. She doesn't use like a pattern. And then you'll see on this particular purse, this is not embroidered. This is actually woven into the fabric. So, so they're super talented artisans. This is a purse that one of our artisans made, and you'll see there's embroidery. There's different kinds of fabric. There's embroidery on the back. And this fabric on the front is also hand embroidered. This is called Wakil. This is made out of an upcycled shirt.
So they did it with their hand?
What?
You did that with their hand?
Yeah, it's all done by hand. They don't do it with machine.
So,
Yeah.
how long would it take them to make something like this?
For example, this is an example of a Wakil, right? And all the embroidery on this is done by hand. It's probably at least 60 hours worth of hand stitching.
So that's for the whole thing?
No, just for the embroidery.
So for like,
That's it. That's purchased fabric that someone made that out of. So they bought the purple.
okay, but like the towel and stuff,
The towels.
like,
So that towel. Let's look at something basic. I'm trying to think what we paid. The towel takes about 7 hours.
Good.
Another thing that I forgot, I have one more thing. Another thing that they like to do is beading. Just a few of our ladies do this. So some ladies specialize in the weaving, some in the beading, some in the embroidery. They make us like little animals out of beads and a lot of bracelets. I didn't bring any bracelets today. I don't have any. But we do actually have two men that work with us, and we work with their families. The one man does all of our sewing. He's a tailor. He comes up with all the designs, designs all of the purses, designs all of the clothes, all of the bags, all that. Yes?
How often do you go to the waterfall?
I go 2 to 3 times a year.
Yeah.
We go usually in the end of December, beginning of January to hand out all the scholarships for the school season, for the school year. And then we try and go mid-year. So usually July or August, we try and go when people are off school. That's when we do our healthy home projects and check in and then.
And how long are you usually there for?
A week to 2 weeks, depends. The actual like mission trips are usually 7 to 10 days. Yes.
So, your main goal is responsible and to high school and public. How do you guys
We will sponsor them all the way through college. Yeah, that's our goal. When they graduate, it's not like here where you graduate and you just get a title. They actually have to write a thesis. They have to take a big exam and stuff like that. So we do lay a little bit of the responsibility on them themselves that they have to pay for that stuff. We've helped you all the way now from kindergarten on. So we try and give them a little bit of the responsibility to come up with their own money at that point. It's hard. I mean, it's really hard for them to even come up with that much money. But we want them to feel ownership in their education as well.
I've seen that movie, The Dollar a Day, or Dollar a Day.
Uh-huh.
It's pretty crazy.
It is, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's pretty crazy. They have like that little boy that's like their best friend, and he's like working all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I told Russ, one of my goals is to write a story of all the people that have done it, like write a book that has their stories written in it. I mean, our tailor, for example, started working at 7, drinking coffee. Only went to school, 3-4 years of his life. Parents kicked him out at 11. He was on his own, living on the streets at 11 years old, and fortunately, he was always fascinated by sewing, and he would sit and watch some guy sew all the time, and finally the guy said, "Do you want to learn how to do this?" And he said, "Yeah." So at 14, he was working for free to sleep underneath the sewing table, so he had a roof over his head, and then after about a year of that, he was good enough that he could get paid for his work, and that's what he's been doing his whole life. So, and his story is not new. pretty much everyone has a sweater like that. Very simple. So, yeah, it's crazy. You watch that movie, you're like, what? And then you go down there and you're like, oh my gosh, it really is this way. So, so any more questions about the fair trade stuff? We market on Amazon, Etsy, we have our own webpage. Actually, so this is our webpage. We have our line of products is called. Huh? So anyway, we do Amazon and Etsy. Our line, and we have Instagram account, we have Twitter account. Our product line is called the Fair Line, so fair trade. So on our website, you can actually see it says shop the Fair Line, and then we have just all of our products listed on here. Scarf, whatever, but that's how we do most of our marketing. I am not very good with Instagram. We need to utilize that more to stay more current, and I think our Twitter account has last been updated in 2016. I'm not a big Twitter person either. So that's something that we're looking forward to doing, is maybe getting more younger people involved that can help with the marketing. The woman who currently designs all of our products and does our marketing is 70 years old and lives off the grid in western Kansas. Love her to pieces, but she's not the most modern and up to date technologically. She's like, if I could just mail this stuff out, it would be amazing. But she takes all of our pictures of our products right now and markets everything. She does a great job. She's been doing it for forever, but it'd be nice to have a younger, little more person. Yes.
So you guys, I just want to make sure I have this right. You guys buy the products from them?
Yes.
And then resell it. What is inventory like for you guys as far as how much you have?
We currently have, she just emailed it to me. I think we have about $10,000 worth of inventory right now. So I do all the translation work and all the ordering to Guatemala. So I communicate with the women down there and say, hey, here's an order for you. We want, for example, if we want these particular towels, I'll say we need 24 of these, this size, and then we want hand towels the same size. We actually have books of thread colors, so we can say we want thread number 27. Here's the design, stripes this big, or you come up with your own design. We've been really fortunate recently. We have 2 big wholesalers that have been ordering through us. We don't make much money, hardly anything, but at least it keeps our families working and they get their fair trade wages paid. Literally just had someone put in a 750 towel order. That is a lot. And she has more stuff, but I mean, that's like the main order. I think she ordered 350 pairs of earrings. She has a big shop out in Oregon, and she's been selling our products right and left. And so that's really been a blessing during the pandemic. So, but I think normally we upcharge the products about 40% to sell to, online. And then, like I said, we pay fair trade wages to the ladies, but we're a total volunteer organization. So all the money actually goes back into our programs for the women. Yes.
So if I bought like a $20 towel, how much money would go back to the person that made it?
Well, they would have been paid, for example, that towel, they would have been paid $10 to make it, and then we have the cost of shipping. And then, so let's say that leaves us with 15, that extra $5 goes into our general fund, and we use that to fund our Healthy Homes programs. We do also, we as a group sponsor, let's say, let's say all of a sudden someone dies and their kid no longer has a sponsorship, we do carry about 6 to 8 kids a year as the organization. We keep them posted on the website as meeting sponsors. Then if a sponsor comes, we switch our money to sponsor a different child, but then that sponsor can sponsor that child. So we try and not have a gap in their education. Like if they miss a year, we don't want them to have to miss a year because their sponsor can't afford it this year, or they've decided they don't want to do it anymore. We try and, if they're already in the program, we kind of try and keep them going. So we use a lot of that money to reinvest in things like that.
How many kids are currently in the program?
I believe we have about, I think there's 96. And this year, I think we had 75 of them sponsored. The number is a little bit fluid, so as families kind of come and go into the groups, we have we have 3 main groups that we work with: El Tablo, Cho Cruz, and San Antonio. 2 years ago, Cho Cruz all of a sudden had this mass influx of women into the group with all these kids that all of a sudden were like wanting to be sponsored. We're like, who are these ladies? So we did a little investigating. So what we did is we had the head. Every group has like their leader, the woman that's in charge of the room. We actually had her lead the room, and we had all the new women in there. And then we just straight up asked them, what do you do for the group? What do you do for the group? What do you? So part of our rule to be part of the organization is they have to work with the group. Like, we don't care if their job is babysitting while the women weave, or I'm the one who ties the knots from the end of the towels, or I make this product, or I make that product. We just want to find out how are they involved to eliminate like the entire village, the entire community coming and saying, I'm part of the group, because we're not big enough yet to be able to handle something like that. So that's kind of how we balance all that. Yes.
So this is kind of backtracking a little bit, but you said like one of the wholesalers bought like a huge order, like 750 towels. So my question is, if you had like more like people with big orders like that, how would that affect it, since it obviously takes a lot longer for them to make it, and just for like how much inventory you have on hand? So kind of how that works.
So what we do with our wholesalers is we take each wholesaler and assign it to a group, right? So for example, her name is Molly. Her group is called Clear and Simple, I think is the name of her school. And so what we do is El Tablo is assigned all Molly's products. So they have all the samples, they send her all the like, like the mock-ups, or like let's say a new design or whatever. They send all that to her. And then we as an organization, because that group is being kind of taken care of, will shift our personal orders to a different group. So right now we have 2 big wholesalers, and we have them in 2 separate groups to distribute the work. And we don't keep any of that inventory. So we send, that's their own custom designs, it's their own custom products, and it goes directly to the wholesaler. And then that lets us keep less inventory on our books and have to sell less product to support our women. So, because we're supporting our women, and the goal is to keep them working, to keep them earning money. So that's kind of how we work with that.
So just hypothetically, to say if something happened where you had like some celebrity like shout you guys out or something, and you had millions of people across, so they probably wouldn't be able to keep up with that or be able to handle that right away.
Not right away. We actually did have that happen last year. The Duck Dynasty lady.
Miss K?
Huh?
Miss K?
What?
What, the Miss K?
Yeah, I don't remember which. There was the one married to I can't think of her name because I don't follow that show. But anyway, yeah, she does a lot of celebrity like charity work, and has I think she has a subscription box or something like that. We were so excited about it. We're like, that's awesome. And she wanted, I think she wanted like 1,000 hand tools or something. We're like, great, we can have it for you in 2 months. She wanted it in like 3 weeks. We're like, then apparently you don't understand how the process works, because we can't take your custom order and give it to our group of artisans and get it out of there that fast. Then you can't hand make 1,000 of them that fast. Give us 2 months and we can have it done. I mean, if we said, hey ladies, this is, you know, a TV celebrity, we need these done, they'll work their tails off to get it done. I mean, they have 5 looms. They can get it done in just one village. We could distribute it, but I can't get it done in 2 weeks. I just can't, you know, physically. So that has been a little bit of a struggle. I think if we had someone with the understanding of how that, you know, how it works, I think we could do it, and then we could get ahead and make more product. But as we get bigger and bigger, we also want to encompass more groups. I mean, as you heard Karen say, we want to start working in other areas as well, so that we have more workers and can do more product.
You said multi-tool.
Like that size, yeah. Yeah. Because if you watch, I mean, and they're fast. So I took a weaving class from them so I could understand how to do this. We worked for 4 days, not like all day long, but let's just say we worked an hour and a half each day. I don't know.
Oh, I just timed out.
Yeah. I think my thing was only like this wide, and you actually sit on the floor like cross-legged, right, with the strap around your butt, and the loom is in front of you. And it's just, I only made it about this far, so very fast. It's a little bit of a, but those ladies, you watch them, they're like, shing, 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 shing. I mean, they're crazy fast at it when you know what you're doing. I mean, they'll start learning when they're like 5. So the thing kind of funny is that the looms are so big and they're so little, like, you guys even reach all that stuff. I can hardly reach the pedals myself, so.
I'm gonna pull up a picture of that. I don't think your pictures had the loom, just to see what these guys.
Yeah, the video had some looms.
Oh, did it have one of them? Yeah, like this thing.
That's a backstrap loom.
This one?
Yeah. So this is how, I mean, that is like literally how they do it. And you'll see ladies, 80 years old, still sitting on the floor doing that. But that was made on a table loom, which they're about this wide. And they stand about this high. You sit on a piece of wood that kind of moves back and forth. So, pretty cool. All right. I don't know how to make this really big, but
You want to freeze it?
yeah.
Just pan out and just use without going into presentation mode, and then you can just.
Oh, there it is. Okay. Oh, that's not what I wanted. All right. So the healthy homes, and since you watched that movie, you totally get it. Most of the houses have dirt floors. They're built with cement block or this kind of rudimentary block there. A lot of them have corrugated metal roofs. Even in town in Panajachel, there is not the drinking water. You can't drink the water that comes out of the tap, and there's not water 24/7. They have water like 1 or 2 hours a day. It comes directly from the river. There's not a water treatment plant. So sometimes during the year when it's rainy season, the water comes out dirty. So you're trying to wash your clothes in muddy water. You're showering in dirty water. So we work on we put in sometimes filtration systems, which is just a bucket system with a couple of filters in it, a gallon bucket. Otherwise, the families have to buy agua pura, like big the Culligan man big bottles of water. That's how they get drinking water. So we try and help with that. This is their traditional, this is a normal sink. This is washing hands, washing dishes, washing clothes. The whole thing. So like when their 1 hour of water comes per day, they'll fill up the middle one, sometimes both sides, but at least the middle. They'll fill up buckets around the house. And that's what we use. Most homes do not have indoor plumbing. Most of them still use an outhouse. The ones that do have indoor plumbing, you have to add water to make it flush. It's not like they're running water to the toilet. Again, we try and do cement floors. They cook. We our traditional stoves they're called pollos, which is chicken in Spanish. I don't know what they call them that, but pollos and then leña, which is wood. But a lot of these stoves do not vent out of the house. So you'll go to a lot of the homes and the walls are covered with soot. One of the things we do a lot of times is we'll put in these new fuel efficient stoves. They're still wood burning. We're not trying to change their culture or how they cook, but they vent out of the home. They can use less wood to maintain a good temperature. If you've never had a handmade wood stove cooked tortilla, you're missing out. They're like the best things ever. But that's how they cook their tortillas and everything every day. They're in the home. Little kids around, there's a lot of burns because they're hot. So they learn not to touch it, right? But that's part of what we do as well with those funds that are left over. We invest in the healthy home programs. Roofs that don't leak, stoves that vent, new water, cement floors. A lot of times we put in new, these crack eventually. So we'll put those new ones of those, or maybe on a cement slab so they're not all janky, leaking. They just have one like mud. Yes.
And this is all part of education.
This is all part of education more. So these programs, the sponsorship program, the fair trade, these are just all under our group's umbrella. This is how we spend the money. This is how we help the people down here. So, and then with our healthy homes, we've also done a little bit of medical things as well. We've done some vaccination programs. We've done some women's health things. A lot of the women down there don't understand. I have a friend, she's my age. She said she had no idea how you got pregnant. They don't teach sex ed in the schools. It's a taboo subject to talk about. So she said, I didn't know until I could feel the baby moving. What? How do you not know that? So we actually had a doctor come. He had this really neat apron, and the ladies were all like, oh, they were so embarrassed. But it was so good because he had the women's reproductive system on these sheets of paper that he slid into a big pocket that he wore. So they thought it was hilarious because it was a guy and he had this women's reproductive system. But it showed like, how does a baby grow? Like the development of a fetus. They had no idea. There's no prenatal care. There's no aftercare. One of our women, actually the leader of our group, Joe Cruz, sadly, we were there in August. She had this beautiful little toddler. We went back in January. They didn't have their work done. We're like, what happened? Her baby fell in its head. Took her a week and a half to take it to the hospital because health access is really expensive. It's socialized medicine. People think it's free, but it is not free. And it's hard to get in. And it's not accessible, right? So it took her a week and a half to get in, and by then the bleeding in the child's brain had been such that she's now a permanent vegetable. So now she's 3 or 4 now. She's a complete vegetable on a feeding tube at home, like there. I mean, I don't know how long she'll be able to live because obviously clean water is an issue. So if you can't have clean water, how do you keep a feeding tube sterile? You know, I mean, and she just lays there. She doesn't speak. She doesn't anything, and it's so sad because she was fine when we were there. Here, they would have taken her to the ER right away. They would have noticed that she had hit her head hard enough to have bleed, and they would have treated her, right? Not there. We have a girl right now that we're trying to find health care for. She has some weird tumor growing in her mouth. She's in Diversificado. She's 15 years old. She's been part of our program for forever. She has this weird tumor, and now it's to the point she can't shut her mouth. She can't eat very well because it bleeds all the time. She's so embarrassed because she's 15, so you know, who wants to have this weird thing? But we can't find healthcare for her. No one will do it. It would take a trip to Guatemala City to see a specialist. They don't have money for it. So we try and help out when we can in those situations. Matter of fact, one of the ladies, just about a month ago, had a baby. Matter of fact, Christina, who was in our video, we built her a home. Her home was destroyed by a mudslide. She lost 6 family members. We built them a new home. She had a baby a month ago. It was 6 weeks premature. She named it Dana. She named it after me. And she's still in the hospital because she's now has pneumonia and is trying to recover. And just listening to the treatments that they do there versus here, like they wouldn't let her nurse the baby. They wouldn't let her give breast milk to the baby. I'm like, what? Here, if you preemie, that's what you want. That's that builds the immune system of the baby. But it's just the healthcare is so inadequate. My friend had a kidney stone. It took her a year and a half to get in for surgery to get it removed. Can you imagine? I don't know if any of you have those, but they're super painful. But that's the way you gotta get on your waiting list and wait in lines for socialized medicine. That's how it works. And a lot of the doctors that work at the hospitals have private clinics. So if you want to be seen and have the money, you can pay to go to the private clinic. But if you don't have the money, you have to wait. So even the doctor we work with there, he said, I hate sending my patients to the hospital in Solo, to the community hospital. He said, it's a death sentence. So it's a problem. So that's part of our Healthy Homes too, is educating women on women's health, trying to find some health care, trying to keep up to date on vaccines. Ironically, the pandemic has not wiped out tons of people down there. They're very in town, and then very, like I said, they had the real strict restrictions and stuff at first. And originally, they had a lot of the elderly passed away, not a lot, but some. But now the cases they recovered there too. So, let's see. And then other part of our program is the Women and Children's Bible Studies. So we actually have 2 people who work for us down there that are indigenous to the area. They speak Spanish and the native language of Quechua. So they go and do Bible studies with the women, and then we do vacation Bible study with the kids, and we also always do vacation Bible study when we go down there because we love it. It's not any one particular denomination, it's just Christian. It's just very, very basic, hey, you can pray to God type stuff to kind of lift them up, give them hope, things like that. Just very basic. It's not any one denomination oriented. The religious culture down there is really interesting. It's mostly Catholic and Mayan. So they believe both. A lot of them don't have access to a church, but if you go to like the Catholic churches there's candles everywhere, like everywhere. And it's kind of interesting, like you can't even see the paintings too much anymore on a lot of the churches because of the soot, because they burn so many candles. But then you'll see also there's a lot of Mayan religious areas where they do still sacrifices, where they have Mayan ceremonies, they have shamans, they do their little altars. So that's pretty interesting too. So a lot of times, and there's distrust of medicine to some extent, so sometimes they'll have the doctor and the shaman at the same time. Or the doctor will be treating the patient, the shaman will go, like if there was, say, a motorcycle accident, the shaman will go to the motorcycle site and do their thing while the doctor's treating the patient. So it's a really interesting mix of cultures. We just had Holy Week last week, and that down there is a huge deal. Like a lot of people, it's their big, they have the whole week off, it's the big holiday of the year. They paint the streets, they do big processionals. It's just kind of a big deal. I have never been there during Holy Week, but I want to go sometime just to see it. This year's come down a little bit, obviously due to the pandemic, but it's still, even that, like they'll come. I don't have pictures here, but my friend Juan Diego, he's a photographer and lives in Santiago, and that's a town really rich in culture. They speak Tzotzil. And so you have the men all dressed in their traditional clothes, carrying like a you know, a cross or a statue of Jesus down the street marching, you know, in sync and stuff, but still in the traditional Mayan clothes, and it's kind of a combo of both things together. So anyway, so that's what we do. Any questions about that sort of stuff down there? And then this was just our church, the kids that they sponsor. So here was the medical mission that we did. We worked with Dr. Mendez, and this is his private hospital that he just built. We were helping him get it kind of organized. They had just built it. So his is a public and private, so he offers free services to the indigenous people there, but then also it's quality enough that some of the expats will go there and actually pay money to use the hospital. So they're
Explain
funding.
what an expat is.
Expat is a foreigner that lives, so like if I go down and live in Guatemala, I'm an expat. Foreigner that lives in, yes.
Where do you guys stay when you're down?
We, for the most part, stay in a town called Panajachel on the lake. Our hotel that we mostly stay at, or hostel, I think it's listed as well as the boat, is called Mario's Rooms. It's a small family-owned hotel. A lot of the places down there is really cool. Like from the outside, you can't tell what's inside. There's just this big metal door, and then you go in and there's big gardens and all these rooms kind of around a central garden area. So that's where we stay. We have Wi-Fi, it's a little sketchy. We have it. Hot, cold running water, private bathrooms. You have sheets that might have, you know, like the cartoon cars. That's what the sheets might be like, and then handmade quilts. It's very basic, but it's very safe, and it's very clean. The same maids have been there the whole time. One time, one of our gentlemen, Al, left his belt there, and he came back 2 years later, and the maids were like, Mr. Al, we have your belt, and they brought him his belt. So it was like, I didn't, you know, I left you just some leather belt or whatever. But so we usually try and go there. I've stayed in a couple Airbnbs down there, which is also super cool. Did stay in a hostel, like a more hostel-y hostel that might appeal more to people your age. It had a pool and a bar, and you know, a lot of other people in their 20s. It's a big place for backpackers. It's a big place for hippies. The lake itself is supposed to have good chakra, good auras. It's got some energies or whatever, because there's 3 volcanoes on the lake. The first time I went down there, it is unbelievable beauty. So it's abject poverty with these views that are unsurpassed. I mean, you literally walk down to the lake. It's this giant lake that you have to take water taxis across for 20 minutes. And there's 3 volcanoes right there that you can see. I mean, it's jungly, but it's never hot and it's never cold. It's like 80 to 50. That's the climate 24/7. So it's pretty awesome. It's like kind of paradise. So, like a secret paradise. So, I love it. It's one of my favorite places in the world. So, yes.
How would someone go about sponsoring a kid?
We actually have on our website pictures of the kids, and you can go just click on it. Under our, I believe it says how to help, how to become involved. We have a sponsorship program. We use, so right here on our get involved part, we have sponsor a student. Student sponsorship, and then here's our kids right here. So every year we go down and take new pictures. We try and get them to smile. Sometimes they don't smile. Like, you're not going to jail, smile. I go. So I use a program working with Network for Good. So this is something that I set up. We still need a little bit of work on the website. It's not my forte, but here is an easy way to sponsor a child, or you can do your own amount, and you can put a note like which child. But So that's how you sponsor it.
Reach your goal.
I did. We have reached our goal. We have had some really generous donors this year. So some of my churches donated $4,000 2 weeks ago. So that's pretty awesome. Into a perpetual trust. So what I was talking about. We don't want them to lose their sponsors. So we're trying to set up a trust where just the interest alone is enough to make sure that the kids are sponsored all the time. So that way we don't have to worry about funding. Like if we had a bad year selling, we still have the funds to keep supporting the children. Because that's really, through education, is the best way to get up out of poverty, to alleviate poverty, is through education.
If you sponsor a kid, would there be any way to be in contact with that child?
Yeah, that's kind of the cool thing. One of the things I really like about this organization, it's not like, for example, UNICEF, right? They're a great organization, but you give them money and you might get like a postcard. Well, here's your kid, right? Our organization, you sponsor a kid, you get handwritten notes from them twice a year, you get their grade sheets, and if you come down with us, you get to meet them. You get to meet them up close and personal. I mean, I know our kids. They know me. So that's the really good, and they're so grateful. They're like, you're the most awesome person on the planet. They just think that that's awesome. And we have sponsors who know when their kids' birthdays are, so they send like little things for them for their birthdays. They have us take stuff down. So that it's really neat that way. So I think that's.
Why don't you expand on the upcoming trip?
Yeah, so we are going down July 19th through the 28th. It's $1,000, and then you have to buy your own airfare, but that includes everything. All your transport to and from the airport, your hotel, your meals, drinking water, snacks, all of that's included. Also, if we go on any tours, so there's a place on the lake called Mares de Indio, which is we climb it at like 3 in the morning. It's way up high. You can sit there and watch the sunrise over the volcanoes. One of the volcanoes that we regularly climb is called Papaya, but it just erupted 2 weeks ago. So, but you were able to go up it and roast marshmallows in the lava. That sort of stuff is included. That was pretty interesting. We usually go with a group of about 10, sometimes bigger, sometimes smaller. We're pretty open. This year so far, I've had really, really good response. I actually boosted our post on Facebook and got like 3,000 hits, and we ended up getting some pretty good candidates, good people interested in coming. But we'll do Vacation Bible School, we'll work on a Healthy Homes project, we'll get to meet all the artisans, the kids, we'll be handing out all of our food bags. So we'll meet all the kids and all the women that we work with. We'll travel around the lake. We are actually going to San Lucas this time, which is on the other side of the lake, to meet a new group that we've never worked with before, because one of the ladies coming with us normally works in San Lucas helping the elderly, but her group is not going this year, so we're going to go over there anyways and work with their group. We also have two expats, Joe and Cindy, that live in Conchachel, that do a lot of mission work, and so we usually do like a cultural night with them, or try making tortillas one night. Patricia helps us. She actually works at a school there in Pana teaching non-Spanish natives how to speak Spanish. So it's pretty awesome. The food is really good. We go to some really good restaurants. The ladies usually cook for us. Yes.
So I didn't want to get too sidetracked on that, but I knew it would come up as part of this overall data gathering. But I'm going to be sending something out university-wide. It's going to be a trip to Guatemala. We can also visit the University of Francisco Marroquin, where I've done a little bit of work in teaching. So it's going to be an exchange opportunity for this trip that she just mentioned. $1,000 plus the airfare. You just bought your airfare was $550.
Yeah, whether the five
So let's just call it $1,600. That'll be an opportunity for you guys. We got about 10 minutes left, and I want to press you with a couple questions.
Okay.
And then open it up for questions additionally. So what do you think is the biggest problem education in Moore faces today? And or where do you see the most opportunity for growth?
Our biggest, I think we have a couple challenges. One is in keeping the children involved in the program and education. And I think that is key to kind of make sure that we're keeping things growing, keeping things expanding down there. You know, bringing in new people, making sure the children are staying on task with school, trying to limit that dropout rate. That is really, you know, getting the kids into diversificado in high school. Trying to keep the boys, especially the boys in school, because it's hard because they can go and earn money. I mean, and that's, you know, that's something that the parents see is they need to. The other challenge that we face is just in our own organization. Right now, we only have 4 board members, and that's a lot to put on the shoulders of 4 people. It's a pretty substantial organization. Both financially, there's a lot of, you know, money coming in, money going out. The communication, I think that we could do better marketing. I want to get 100% of our kids sponsored. I want to expand our programming more. There's a lot of abuse. There's a lot of substance abuse. There's a lot of machismo stuff, like women's rights that need to be kind of addressed. I think we could expand into those areas. We have contacts for all of that. It's just a matter of getting the programming done down there, maybe having more of a active presence actually in Guatemala, I think would be beneficial as well. So those are some of the big hurdles that I see, like to expand our organization. I want to see it keep growing. I don't want to see it stagnate. So I think in order to keep growing, that's some of our big hurdles that we have right now.
What are the roles of the 4 board members? So you basically have 4 active board members.
Yeah.
You're one.
I'm one of them. So I handle all the communications, the majority of the social media, and all the accounting. And I organize all the trips. So, and these are all volunteer positions. And then our president, she actually handles all of our nonprofit paperwork because the United States is weird and there's not just one universal form you can fill out for the entire United States to be a nonprofit. Every stupid state has different regulations. So let's say I have a sponsor from Wisconsin, then we have to file as a nonprofit in Wisconsin or Hawaii or Florida. And that takes a lot of work and it's actually really expensive. But it's what we have to do to be legal. But some states it's like $20. Some states it's like $60. So some states we almost spend more than we actually get in sponsorships. So that's kind of a hassle, but that's what she does, and that's her role. She handles most of that sort of stuff. And then we have Colleen, which handles all our inventory, all the products. She works with the wholesalers. She works and sets up our order, or she tells me what the order is for the artisans, and then I pass that on to the artisans. So she handles all that and all the shipping. She does all the shipping, which is weird because she lives, like I said, way out in western Kansas, but she's the one who handles all the shipping. I don't know, UPS guys like the Best Buddy or whatever, but anyways. And then we have Deb, who lives in Florida, and she handles all the sponsorships. So she coordinates which kids are sponsored, which kids are not sponsored, emailing or mailing out all the letters that come in on our trips. We'll get them, and then she'll mail them out. She handles mailing out all the grade sheets and and all that. So contacting their sponsors to renew for the next year, things like that. So that's, but it would be awesome if someone would step up. We do have someone who is just in the process of joining the board. She's about 30. She teaches the honors classes at high school, and she's been getting really involved. So I'm hoping she's kind of updated some of our blog stuff, which is good, and wants to get her students involved in kind of doing some communication with the high school kids there. So hopefully that'll work. But yeah. So that's the rules of the 4 board members. Our bylaws allow for 12, so we're very short. We'd also like to do some more work in conjunction with K-State. They have an internship program where they send students down there every year. And we'd like to get a little more on their radar. We've been working with them a little bit. So they can work with our families when they go down there. So we've been working with Guillermo a little bit, which is a gentleman in Guatemala that works with. He doesn't work with that university in San Francisco.
No.
He's kind of an old stepper. They
It's
do,
his relationship with K-State.
yeah, it's his relationship with K-State, and then they do like microloans and stuff for women.
Yeah, they got a big nonprofit doing like $30 million in microloans in Guatemala to like.
Yeah. So,
They have good connections.
any other questions from anybody? I hope I piqued your interest in Guatemala. If you don't take my class, I still recommend look on YouTube. It's called $1 a day. It's an excellent movie. Anything else? You guys gonna be able to do whatever work you guys would do from what I just told you?
All right, thank you.